Hey yo, tabletop sports board gamers. This is Bob from Bob's Tabletop Sports, bringing you a video of a new game that I have been working on for about 3 years. This is a game called Footy, and it is a game that is a fictional type game, kind of loosely based off of the sport of futsal, which is 5-on-5 soccer. And so this is what this kind of a game is. And so this is a very easy game to play, not all that difficult to do. The only things you'll need, this is a free game, by the way, and we'll provide a link down in the doobly-doo down at the bottom there. But the only things that you're going to need for this game are a couple pawns. As you can see here, I have a white and a black pawn. You need some kind of marker. It doesn't have to be a green little thing like a disc like this. You could use a bingo chip or anything you want, or maybe a little soccer ball you could want for that. And then you need 3 dice. And you're just going to need 2 6-sided dice, 1 black, 1 white, and then a 12-sided die of any color. I suggest red in the rules, but that's okay. And then there's a free package of rules that you can download. It contains the rules and this board, and also a doubles chart, which looks kind of like this. And so that's what you're going to get in there. And you also will get some basic players to go with it as well. And the cool thing about these basic players is you can create your own teams with them. And all you need to do, as you can see here, is you can write the team names down if you wanted to in those little provided spots. And so you can create your own teams with this. And so it's really easy to do. So from some acknowledgments before I continue on some of the inspirations from this, there was a lot of inspiration from Gary Brown in his Grid Zone game. There was some inspiration actually from Keith Avalon to Play Games with his volleyball game. It's volleyball game. Where there was a lot of stuff in there. Oh no, it's dodgeball. Sorry, dodgeball game. But the dodgeball game had this concept of having very few values on the cards and use just last names, so it made it really simple to do, right? So that's kind of the whole concept of this. There's only a few values on these cards. So the general gist of this is that the game is played for 40 segments, for 40 minutes. There's a halftime in the middle of that, and that, you're just trying to get goals on the other team, right? Average score comes out to around just shy of maybe a hockey game. So somewhere possibly between what a hockey game and a soccer game will come out to. A normal soccer game normally comes out, 0-1, 0-2, something like that. Or there can be high scores, but in general, they tend to be very low. In a couple seasons of playing this, like full seasons where we played 22 game seasons on with 12 teams, we saw very few 0-0 ties. It was very rare. Okay, so it's not you're not going to get soccer scores out of this, but you're going to be just shy of, I think, hockey scores. There are some games that you get like 6-3 or something like that, which would be, I think, more like a hockey score. But I think those are kind of rare too. So anyways, a few things, and this will just be kind of an introductory video. We'll do another video which we'll do a little bit deeper dive into this game and show some of the gameplay. But the general concept of this is that every single minute you're going to make 2 different die rolls, okay? The first die roll we're going to make, we'll just roll these dice real quick here. And this may shake the table here, which is going to shake the phone. Oops, that one just went off camera. Okay, so we have a 4 and a 5. So this first roll is just to find out who the key players of the play are. So this kind of abstracts the minute. There's probably a lot of passing going on and things like that. But in general, these are the key players for this play, okay? So as you'll see here on the board, we have little black dice on here. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is when the team is on offense. They're going to be using the black pawn, and they're going to be using the black die. And so you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. We had a 4. That means that our key player here is going to be Lee. Okay? On the 5 here, this is the white. This is for the defense, the team on defense. Their key player is going to be on the white die. So you can see here a 5 They got one of their guys up front, which isn't as good. Usually the guys up front should these two positions and these two positions here. These are the guys you want to have more offensive power. These are the guys you want to have more defense power because they come up more often in those situations. But as you can see, 4 out of 6 times it's going to be the front line for the offense, and 2 out of 6 times it's going to be in the back. So it's not impossible for somebody in the back to be used, or in this case, in the front to be used for defense. Now, they just happen to pick a player that's got really good stats on offense and defense, so that's pretty cool. All right, so once you rolled for the key players, and you're going to roll again to see what happens on the play. So roll all 3 dice again. Now, both players are trying to get at or under the die roll valued for their relevant stats. So, for example, the black die, we're applying that to the offense stat. As you can see here, Lee has a 3 offense. We rolled a 2. That's equal to or less, so he made his roll. Okay. Over here, this guy here, he rolled a 5. His defense is a 4, so he rolled above it. He missed his roll. So this guy made it, this guy missed. Okay. So when that happens, when the offense makes it, the defense misses it, they get a shot on goal. So at that point, then we would roll again to see if our goaltender, who's a 43, would get a goal. And we roll this, we read this red and white die, essentially. And we can see here it's a 14. So 43. 14 is definitely under that, so the goaltender saves it. There's no goal. Okay, now who does the ball go to after this? That's why we roll this red die. So there's this concept, first of all, let's talk about stars. So these are control stars, and you can see here this guy has 1 control star. This guy has 1, this guy has 1, this guy has 1. There are players in here that can go all the way up to 2. Let me see if I can find one here for all of you. So here's an example of a guy who has a 2-star control star rating, okay? But in this case, we have 2 stars on this team. We have 3 stars on this team. However, this team, or 1 star on this team, sorry, 3 on this team. This team, however, gets home team advantage, and because of that, they get a bonus star. So they actually have 2. They have this star and this star here. This team has 3. 3 to 2 means there's a difference of 1 between the stars. So you can see here on this control track, here we can move this to 1 to 2 on this side because this side has the advantage, right? And as you can see here, this says 1 to 7. So that means their control range now is 1 to 7. And then on 8 to 12, the other side would get control on any contested ball. In this case, because they missed the goal, we had a 2 on the red. That means it's between 1 and 7. That means that this team now has the ball, and they will get the possession for the next minute. So let's say that this player and this player were selected again. And in this situation, we'll change this dice to a 5, but we'll change this dice to a 2. Okay? So in this case, Lee is going to miss his check because he rolled above a 3. Okay? But in this case, this player rolled under a 4 with a 2. So in this case, the defender made their pick, or their roll. The player on offense missed theirs. And in this case, this is a steal. Okay? So immediately the possession would change. And they get a chance at what's called a breakaway. Okay? And a breakaway is basically, we're going to re-roll to see which player gets the ball. So we re-roll again. Oh, and in this case, if this player is chosen again, so in this case he rolled a 1 or a 2, that player would get a breakaway. If it did not get chosen, that would just be, you go on to the next minute and play it normally. But this player now gets a breakaway attempt to score against the goaltender Morel. So we would roll just 1 die just to see whether or not he actually can make the shot. So it's 4 plus 2, but also remember one thing, 6 is always fail. So technically on a 5 or less, he will succeed. On the breakaway, he does. And that is now a shot on goal. And because it's a breakaway, this 36 now becomes a 26 instead. We subtract essentially, well, quote unquote 10. It's actually subtracting 6 from the roll, but we would roll again. In this case, he scored a goal because this is above his rating. And so the next minute after we scored the goal, this team that just got scored on will get possession and we continue on. Okay, so that's kind of the general gist of this. Now, if both players made their attempt or both players failed their attempt, so for example, in this case, we had Lee and Lehman and both of them failed their attempt, we just look at the control die and see who gets, the minute would be over essentially, and then whoever had the ball or whatever, or I'm sorry, wherever this red die is, that's who gets the ball for the next minute. So in this case, it's a 2. It would go over here because it's the 1 to 7, right? So that's it for that. Okay, now one thing is on rolls where we're going to attempt to make a play. So we've already chosen our players. Let's say we get doubles. Okay, doubles. So we're going to put this as a 4 and a 4. Okay. So that's where we go to the doubles chart, okay? And the camera's kind of close here, so we would go to this doubles chart, and we would look here, and we'd see 4 and 4. And this just says resolve normally. But as you can see, other things can happen on this chart. Things like lull time, where we're just going to use up the minute, and this team that had possession is going to keep possession. We have things like momentum shift, where the team that has the ball is going to give it up to the other team, and we just result in that minute's done. We have things like defender breakaway, which we just saw exactly how that works, where the defender gets a chance to get a breakaway. We have attacker breakthrough, which works similar to that, but the attacker automatically just gets the shot on goal automatically, doesn't matter, and you don't have to make a second roll for that. There's also things like defender on sportsmanlike. So you'll notice that all these players have sportsmanship values on them. And so in that case, we'd have to roll a single die. So let's say we were doing this for Lee. Lee's only got a 2 sportsmanship. So if we rolled a 2 or under, he makes a sportsmanship check. In this case, he did not. So he would get a yellow card. We'd pull him out of the game temporarily. We put a sub in for him. He would get a yellow card. And you can use like a marker for this. You could mark it and say, oh, well, he's got a yellow chip on him now. He's got a yellow card. Okay, and then the next time there's a stoppage in play, and we have this concept in this game, which is called a hard stop. So if a goal is scored, somebody's injured, somebody gets another card, or it's the end of the half, those are all considered hard stops. And at that point, any injured players or any players that had yellow cards can come back into the game. Okay, that's their punishment. They have to stay out of the game for a little bit. Now, there's also a concept of red cards, and if a player that gets a red card, they come out of the game completely for the rest of the game. You can put a sub in. However, the team that the red card, the team playing against the team that had the red card, they get a penalty kick at that point. And penalty kicks we'll go over in more detail when we do a more detailed overview of this game. There's also other results like players injured. Like we said before, in those cases, there's minor and major injuries. Minor injuries are ones where, again, they'll just be out until the next hard stop. Major injuries means they're out for the rest of the game. And usually that's going to come with a red card to come with that somewhere too, okay? And there's also things where the goaltender can get crashed into. There's fights. So we have major scuffles and minor scuffles. Minor scuffle basically just means that the 2 players that are the key players, they're both going to roll their sportsmanship, and either or both or neither can get a yellow card based on that. Same kind of concept with the major. We first roll for injuries, which basically is when we roll for injury, we're just rolling. So, for example, he is using his offense value for this. So he has to roll a 1 or under and to not be injured. But if he is injured, this guy gets a yellow card. Okay. Same thing here. He would use his defense value because he's on defense. So 4 or under, he's not injured. And if he is injured, he still has to make he would get a yellow card automatically. Otherwise, you just have to roll. So this is more detail of this is going to be on this chart. And if you look at that chart, you get more detail about that. I just want to kind of give you some of the basics here. I also provide score sheets here. And this is a score sheet from my league, actually. And so you can kind of see what this looks like. And this is one that I'm using here in the middle of the game right now. I had to actually take this one off to do this video. So in this example here, you can see we're just tracking like shots, goals, steals, yellow cards, red cards. That's about it. There's nothing really all that much. But you'll notice I'm making little slash marks here. I'm actually doing like possession, figuring out who gets possession more in the game or not type of thing, right? And the goaltenders are down here, and then we just have like shots against and goals against, things like that. This game right now is currently 2-3, with my Sheffield United team winning against Westmarch. These are fictional team names. So anywho, with this, you'll notice though, however, the last 10 minutes are shaded, and they're shaded differently. Okay, so this is the end of the first half here, and as you mark off time, you get to this point here, it becomes a decision point. And this was borrowed from Gary Brown. This is also kind of borrowed from Travis Jansen, and he was doing a baseball version of kind of a grid zone type baseball game at one time. And he came up with a really good idea, and Gary kind of used this a little bit too with his grid zone game. The game can possibly end early. And what this represents is that basically if a team's ahead far enough that they're just going to kill time. And so that just represents that they're killing time, okay? So in this example here, if you get to this mark right here, so this is at the 30-minute mark, and you finish the 30 minutes, and if the home team is ahead by 2 points or the visiting team is ahead by 3 points, the game ends immediately. That's it. No more game. And that's it. So that basically means the home team was ahead far enough, and because they're at home, it's a lot easier for them to hold that lead for 10 more minutes and win the game. Okay. Same thing with if an away team has a 3-point lead, they've got enough of a lead that they're pretty much crushing the other team, and those 10 minutes represent time that they had killed throughout the rest of the game to kind of slow things down and get the win, right? This second mark, so 35 minutes, if the home team is ahead by 1 or the visiting team is ahead by 2, the game ends immediately. So close games at this point, a home team is going to get the huge advantage here and win the game immediately right here, and they don't have to fight for 5 more minutes. Again, that home field advantage. In soccer, things like that, it's one of the sports that has one of the biggest home pitch advantages, right? So this is kind of represented here, okay? So there's that. So that's the way the game can actually end early, and that's the other concept that's in this game. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, you can download the rules. There's like a zip file in there that has the rules in it, has these charts in it. We have the doubles chart, and the game board will have the sample players. There's actually 4 sheets of players, so plenty of players to cut out, make your own teams. And then on top of that, and then also score sheets in there too that you can use. But on top of that, there's one other cool thing in there. And that is a franchise guide that you can use to create your own teams, create your own league, create your own players, and populate that entire league however you see fit. Then you can figure a way to make your own cards. So if you're really handy with that kind of thing, you can make your own cards. I'm working with trying to get an Excel template out there that people can just use Excel to quickly create these cards and zip them out real quick. I use Affinity Publisher, and I would be glad to provide the template if you want that for making cards for that way. But otherwise, yeah, this is a pretty simple game. It's also, again, with the franchise thing, the other cool thing about this is that it has a way to take the teams that you had, and based on where they finished and everything, to advance everything to another year. So, for example, I did season 1. I'm actually going to grab this real quick here. Hang on. These are all the score sheets from season 1. Season 1's done and in the books. And this one, once the season was done, I went through the rules for the franchise, building the franchise and getting to the next year, and got the cards for the new year based on that. So that was pretty neat. And it worked out really well. I actually did a bunch of tests on it already to see kind of what players would come out each year, and ran like a 30-year history of a team. No games were played. I just basically guessed it, kind of what the finishes would be each year, and it came out really awesome for like 30-year history. So anywho, so this is definitely something for you to look at if you're interested in 5-on-5 soccer and a fictional sport, and something that is very easy to play. Now, another thing that's going to be coming out, and we'll do probably another video just on this one, but also we have fact cards. This is just part of the deck, but we actually created fact deck to make this die rolling a little bit easier, because rolling these dice 80 times during a match, it's kind of a bit cumbersome, so you can actually use these. And these actually then, for the doubles, instead of using the doubles chart and the double result, you can just flip another card and get a double result off of that. So even if you roll double 2s, you can still get a momentum shift on a double 2. Kind of mixes things up really nicely too. So there's that option as well. So that is something else that will be out on the site. And there's a GitHub page. You can download things off the GitHub page as you see fit. If you have any questions on how to do that, you can just shoot me a quick email. But otherwise, yeah, this is the game. So glad you guys could check it out, and we'll see you in another video. Thank you.